just want to say a huge thank you for joining us today, and we're delighted to get the opportunity to meet you and for you to learn a little bit more about us as an organisation, and hopefully we will get a number of you to start potentially volunteering with our organisation as well by the end of this session. So just so you know what we're going to be covering today, we're going to be talking about Christmas specifically, even though we are an organisation that operates obviously throughout the full year trying to reduce loneliness for older people. We want to talk in this instance about Christmas. We'll then go into telling you a bit more about who Re-engage is as an organisation, what we do, and how your organisation can get involved with volunteering and partnerships and things like that with us, and help prevent more older people from spending Christmas alone and in isolation. Another thing we're going to be talking about this morning as well is the benefits of volunteering, both on an organisational level, but also on a personal level for you as an employee, and how volunteering can really help bolster your own health, well-being and satisfaction in the workplace. And we'll then round up with some questions as well. So I hope that's all okay. So as you know, loneliness as you'll probably know, loneliness really is a huge issue that does affect people throughout the whole year, and literally millions of older people in the UK are spending Christmas, but many days throughout the year alone as well. Today, as I say, we are going to be talking about Christmas, however, and how you and your organisation can make a real impact by simply dedicating a short amount of time volunteering with our charity throughout the course of December. So if you're looking at the screen right now, you'll see quite a startling figure of 2.3 million older people are likely to be spending this Christmas alone, and they wish that they had someone to spend Christmas with. 1.6 million people find reports saying that Christmas is the hardest day of the year. It's unsurprising, really, when you consider the emotions connected to Christmas, the memories connected to Christmas, potentially friends or partners or relationships that are no longer there for the older person during Christmas. And also another challenge that older people are facing, as the whole country is the cost of living crisis. But over 1 million older people have said that the cost of living crisis is going to make them feel more like isolated this Christmas. Unsurprising again, really, when you consider how expensive it is to get anywhere in the UK. You may have family who you could spend some time with, but simply getting to them could be quite costly and difficult to do. Buying all the bells and whistles and the things that make Christmas so special could be prohibitive when you're on a fixed income and the cost of everything is just spiraling out of control. So it's a really challenging time for lots of people. And in this next slide, I'm going to now show you an animated film, which is about an older person who's spending Christmas time alone. The lady is called Stella, and she does have family, but they're unable to come and see her at Christmas, and she is spending Christmas alone. And this video illustrates just how small moments of connection can really help to reduce loneliness for older people. Now, hopefully the sound will work for you. If you could give me a thumbs up or just say yes in the chat that you can hear, then that would be really helpful. Thank you. And Sam's now going to introduce Reengage a bit more thoroughly to you. There you go.
Thanks, Ali. I love that video. As Ali mentioned, it just goes to show how different people experience loneliness in such different ways, and there's not one no, it's not one way to make people feel better from loneliness. The smallest things can do it. So thanks for sharing the video, Ali. So as Ali mentioned, I'm going to take over for a couple of minutes. And for those of you that aren't familiar with Reengage, I just want to give you a little bit of an overview of who we are. And Ali's just told you why we exist and why we do what we do, particularly over the winter months. But we are the only national UK charity committed to tackling loneliness and isolation amongst the oldest people in the UK. We specifically work with those aged 75 and over. And we're often asked why we work with 75 and over. Usually charities focus on older people as being 50 plus. Our experience tells us that people aged 75 and over, well, the oldest people in the UK, they're not only more likely to be lonely, but they are more likely to stay lonely too. And specifically tailored and targeted services for people in that situation are really, really important. And that's why we do what we do. As a charity, we believe that no one is ever too old to make friends and enjoy social interactions. It doesn't just stop when you get to a particular age. And as employees of Reengage, it is our priority to make sure the loneliest older people in the UK have something to look forward to. And in some cases, and people I've spoken to myself, we often provide them something to live for through something as simple as a group to attend or a phone call to receive. And our mission is to work within local communities such as yours to end social isolation and loneliness in the people most susceptible to loneliness. Next slide, please, Ali. Lovely, thank you. So how do we achieve our vision and mission? How do we make those a reality? We've got several different services, which I'll give you a very quick overview of. Our flagship service, which we've been doing since 1965, is our tea parties. Our tea parties see volunteers all over the UK welcome older people into their home once a month. What is really special about tea parties is the feedback that we get is it's actually being invited into someone else's house. You can go to community centres, you can go to a theatre show. There's nothing quite like that feeling of belonging and welcome of being invited into someone else's home. And someone once told me the tea party was the first time they'd been invited into someone's house for over 2 years. And that's what makes that service particularly special. We also have our gentle exercise groups, which are in various places around the UK. We actually have funding to launch groups all over the West Midlands. So if anyone's interested in taking part in an activity group anywhere around the West Midlands, please do get in touch. I'll share my email address at the end of the call. And the idea of the activity groups is to combine both social contact with activity as well, which boosts mental and physical health. In the West Midlands, we've got some bocce groups, we've got some chair yoga classes throughout Birmingham at the moment, lots of different things that we're doing, and there's room for growth around the West Midlands as well. We've also got our amazing Rainbow Call Companion service, which is specifically for older people who are part of the LGBT plus community, which I had the pleasure of launching myself. And that service is now supporting over 120 older people who are part of the LGBT community, which is one of the proudest things of my career, if I'm completely honest. And then we've also got various other versions of Core Companions as well, which are a bit of a longer term volunteering commitment. So all of our services are designed to minimise loneliness in the oldest people in the UK. But as Ali mentioned, what we'd specifically like to talk about is our short-term volunteering opportunity, which is Christmas Core Companions, which will see people volunteer over the Christmas season. Next slide, please. Lovely, thank you. So as I mentioned, why are we here and how can we help? We currently have 200 older people that have applied and are waiting for a Christmas call companion. And in order to help, we need 200 volunteers to make those phone calls. So the commitment of being a Christmas call companion is that you'll make a call once a week throughout the month of December. And that call is to the same older person. So it's not a different person you're calling every time. It's the same person. So you can build a little bit of a friendship and a relationship. The calls usually last for around half an hour, but they can be as long as you're both happy with. Some people prefer a 2-minute call. Some people prefer a much longer call. Whatever both people are happy with is absolutely fine. If you are interested in signing up, I'm sure Ali's about to share a link to do so if she hasn't already. but you can go to our website, reengage.org.uk. If you click the volunteer page, you'll see the Christmas Call Companion application form come up, which you can click on. There is going to be an option when you do so to say that you work for one of our partners. So if you put in that I think it's Thrive that you need to put in. If someone can correct me later if I'm wrong, if you can put in Thrive that you represent, we'll be able to identify that you work there. Usually when you sign up to volunteer with us, you have to do a group induction, but because you're in this call and we're talking about it, we can use this call as that induction and get you through to the next stage. Once that's done, then you will be asked to do a simple ID check. You just need to provide some details online and also details of a reference it could be a colleague, it could be someone you work with, as long as it's not a partner or someone that you live with. And then once you've done all that, you'll be ready for matching and you'll receive an email from us about how to make your call and phone numbers, just to let you know that your phone number will not be shared with anyone and their phone number will not be shared with you. We have a centralized phone system that you call an 0330 number, connects you with the person you're linked with, and everyone's details are kept private and safe. I just wanted to share as well, before I hand you back to Ali, that I was a Christmas Call Companion myself last year, and it's quite funny when I talk about this story, because I called my companion Anthony once a week as planned at the exact time that he'd asked for a call. He never once answered the phone. So what I did was I left him a voicemail every single time. And then when Christmas ended, I thought that was a shame I never spoke to him. But a couple of months later, I checked our system to see if we'd ever heard from him. And he'd actually filled out a survey about Christmas Call Companions and had made a comment of he received a voicemail every week. It was really lovely to hear that someone cared enough about him to call him, and it really made his Christmas. So if you do sign up, whether you spend half an hour a week speaking to someone or whether you spend 30 seconds a week leaving a voicemail, you might very well make a big difference to someone's Christmas and their winter period. While I am on this slide, if I can just mention, we've had an awful lot of applications come through from volunteers that really want to help. So if any of you are thinking that you'd rather sign up for our longer term call companions rather than the short term, you would be very, very welcome to, and it would make a huge difference. So if you'd rather sign up for call companions rather than Christmas call companions, please do, and we'll still skip you through to the next stage as well. But if I can hand you back to Ali, thanks for listening. And any questions you've got about how it works or anything like that, happy to answer at the end of the presentation.
Thanks so much, Sam. I have shared both my email address and Sam's. So if you do have any questions about anything Sam's just talked about there, just reach out. More than happy to talk to you about that in more detail. And I always really enjoy hearing that story from Sam. And it's not the only instance of that as well, where these very short opportunities to connect with older people make these massive differences. So to you as the volunteer, if you do become a volunteer, it's such a straightforward thing for you to do. You think it's very easy, to be honest, but just you are actually having this huge impact, which is just really wonderful to see. The other thing we want to talk about as well is just how volunteering can really support your organisation as well. So we talk an awful lot, obviously, about supporting older people, and that's our remit. That's what we're here to do, absolutely. But there is also this other benefit, which is from on the side of the volunteer. And we do actually hear feedback all the time. Sam will tell you countless stories about things like this, about how the volunteer signs up and then reports back saying how they feel like they've received a mentor, or that they're the beneficiary, not the older person. So it's definitely a two-way street. But when it comes to the workplace, volunteering really does support your organisation. There's an awful lot of information about this out there. I can send you all sorts of different papers and research papers and things about this. But I just thought I'd kind of summarise some of the facts that we're aware of. Is that you will see a lower turnover if you participate in workplace volunteering schemes. Organisations who engage in workplace volunteering see a turnover drop by 50%, 57%. It's absolutely an enormous number. And employee engagement increases by 7.5%. 77% of organisations agree that volunteering helps to attract younger employees. We know that, Gen Z, they're very altruistic. They like to be part of an organisation that is doing more for the community. So it's a great way to attract that younger talent as well to be very public facing about your volunteering schemes. And 87% of employees report feeling more positively about their employer if they're given time to take part in volunteering schemes. And it's sometimes quite tricky to find a charity that has a suitable volunteering opportunity to take part in. I've worked in a number of charities previously, and the roles we've had have not necessarily aligned that fantastically well with being able to do, you know, because if you're given 2, 3, 4 days a year to participate in volunteering, sometimes that's a bit tricky for a charity to manage. But when it comes to re-engage, we have these roles which are actually very accessible, especially when it comes to the call companion services, of which we have numerous different ones. So we have some really interesting volunteering schemes available. Along with our tea parties, a number of the organisations we work with, they have started to host their own in-house tea parties within their organisation, which has been a really beautiful way to help organisations connect with the cause. So if that's anything you want to learn a little bit more about, then do reach out to me. But for you as an individual as well, if you're an employee of a workplace and you're taking part in the workplace volunteering scheme, it's great for you as well. So volunteering is linked with lower rates of depression and increased longevity. We know that older adults who participate in volunteering can reduce their mortality by as much as 44%. And this is all cited from the Oxford Handbook of Pro-Social Behaviour, and in there was a report saying that 93% of those who were asked reported improved mood when they volunteered, 79% reported having reduced stress, and 88% experienced improved self-esteem as well. So there's a whole lot of really great reasons to volunteer, and loneliness doesn't just affect older people. In fact, we do know that younger people are reporting extremely high levels of loneliness as well. So if you do have employees in the workplace and they may, you don't know necessarily what's going on in their personal lives, they may find that taking part in a volunteering scheme like one with Re-engage or with other charities could dramatically help improve their happiness, their well-being, and reduce their stress in the workplace. So in terms of at the end of this session, takeaways that you can take away from what we talked about today, we are encouraging you to take part in volunteering. You can volunteer as a Christmas call companion. There is a link to do so in the chat at the moment, so if you want to click on that link, you can start the onboarding process right away. If you want to take part, you can promote it to your colleagues at work. Also, you could have a look at some of our other volunteering schemes if you want to take part in having a tea party, for example, or more longer term call companion services. They're very much available too at the moment, so please do sign up to those too. You might want to reach out to us and get to know us a little bit more. If you want to find out more about becoming an organisation that we work with more closely, becoming a partner organisation, my contact details are in the chat as well, so do reach out there as well. And consider as well, we are a charity. These services that we run do cost an awful lot to run, so if you're able to make a donation or provide any sort of support to our organisation, we would hugely value it. One thing to bear in mind is at the beginning of December this year, so from the 3rd to the 9th of December, we are participating in a scheme called the Big Give, which means that any donation we receive during that time will be match funded, so it will be doubled. So any donation you give to Re-engage during that time will be, you'd be doubling your money. So if that's something you want to consider, then again, reach out and I'll explain to you just how you take part in that scheme as well. So that's the end of our presentation. If you have any questions, please do share them in the chat. And just while we're waiting for questions to come through, I also wanted to let you know, as we are talking about Christmas, we have another partner who we work with called Rowan and Wren. They have created some beautiful Christmas cards, which are available to purchase right now. They are all the proceeds from these cards will be donated to Re-engage, and it gives you a bit of a head start on one of your to-do lists when it comes to Christmas. You can get your Christmas cards booked in and delivered and ready for you to send out to people, and you'll be supporting Re-engage at the same time, so it's a double win. Any questions at all?
Thank you so much both. I guess whilst we've got a couple of minutes, do you guys have sort of a common feedback from organisations? Obviously you've talked a little bit about feedback from the individuals. Do you get and a little bit around the sort of research around the impacts on volunteers? Do you often get feedback from your core companions or organisations who you've partnered with around how they found taking part?
Yeah, I mean, we do get that feedback all the time. I mean, on LinkedIn, every time I put a post out, there's often someone who will comment about it afterwards, where they'll say like, "Oh, it's the best part of my week," or something like that. There's how much they get from that. Yeah, we hear that an awful lot. Sam will probably be able to tell you countless stories as well.
Well, the best example I have was we had someone that worked for an insurance company who signed up for the Rainbow Core Companion service and loved it so much that she basically convinced her entire organisation to sign up for our general service. It was absolutely brilliant. So yeah, we do get a lot of feedback from people who, especially because when you work full time, you sometimes think that volunteering must be quite difficult. But for the core companion services, the feedback we always get is you can fit it in around your work week, your work day. You can do whatever time you like. So yeah, we get a lot of feedback from our partners in terms of the positive benefit it has. And like Ali mentioned earlier, there's a really nice feeling when you volunteer because you sign up thinking that you're going to be supporting someone. But I find myself, when I speak to someone 50 years older than me, it ends up being that kind of reverse mentoring. I call them whenever I want advice. And for me as a gay man, speaking to an older gay man, finding out what they went through in the 60s and the 70s, compare that to what I go through now. And my life just seems so much easier now than it would have been if it was a long time ago. So yeah, lots and lots of positive feedback that we receive from the volunteers as well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.